friends. This is Jesse Juarez, president of the Rotary Club of sunny Seaside, California. You're watching a presentation which was recorded live at one of our club meetings. Seaside Rotary meets twice a month via Zoom. Our meetings feature dynamic presentations by many of the movers and shakers that make Monterey County such a vibrant and hardworking community. If you'd like to join a meeting or learn more about Rotary and the work that we do, you can reach out to Seaside Rotary Club at gmail.com. Again, that's Seaside Rotary Club at gmail.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more dynamic content. Perfect. I now give the floor to Mr. Steve McShane to introduce our esteemed guest speaker.
Sure. Well, our speaker today is none other than our fire chief for the city of Seaside. She comes with over 30 years experience, having worked across 4 different departments and having managed just about every role you could have in the fire service. It's a complicated business, life and safety. And as I think many fire professionals have found, it's moved more and more into a lot of social services, whether it's servicing homeless or other types of complicated challenges. It's not just always structure or loss of life that come up. She's married 22 years. She has no children, but has 2 lovely English bulldogs. Loves to hike, bass fish, and do anything in the mountains and outdoors. You know, just before our call, I reached out to a friend of mine that's in part of the fire service in Seaside. And, he said we were very lucky to have Mary as our chief and that she's doing a great job. So how's that? It's a complicated time. Seaside grows and the nature of four-door lands that are still under our management exist. It's complicated. Presidio and not to mention the responsibilities with Delray Oaks. So we're very excited to give a very warm Rotary welcome to our fire chief, Mary Gutierrez.
Thank you, fellow Rotarians. Mary Gutierrez, fire chief for the city of Seaside, and as you said, Delray Oaks. I did a presentation for them at City Council a few weeks ago. And I say fellow Rotarians, I'm on a leave of absence. I'm a Gilroy Rotarian and joined the Rotary there when I was division chief in probably 2017. So I'm very, I'm excited to be here. I'm pleased. I love the service and the mission of Rotary. I don't join clubs and participate in things that I don't believe in and have strong value. So I really appreciate the mission of Rotary and all the hard work in the service. I'd like to share my screen. I'm gonna do a very short PowerPoint because nobody wants PowerPoints, but it gives me an opportunity to tell you a little bit about our fire department. I know probably you've had some of the presentations, but I think still it's important to share a little bit. Let me do this real quick. Let's see here. Some of my stuff is covered up. Hold on. I apologize. Why is it doing this? Let me just close that out. I apologize.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Let me just close that. Try again. Trying to find from the beginning here, and it's, of course, when I practiced this with you, Jess, it was working perfect, right?
Oh, the same thing happens to me every time.
Yeah. I'm just struggling here with, well, maybe I won't share the PowerPoint.
Oh, there we go. From beginning, I think.
Here it is right there. All right, here we go. All right. So I found your insignia. I thought that was important. And again, Mary Gutierrez, Fire Chief, City of Seaside and Delray Oaks, serving the city of Seaside. Just a little bit of stats, because sometimes it's very interesting. We run approximately 3,000 calls a year. Averages about 250 calls a month. And as you said, it ranges anything from emergency medical calls, which are predominantly our calls for service, to structure fires, vehicle accidents. And during these recent storms, a lot of wires down, trees down, that kind of thing. And for the city of Delray Oaks, which we're proud to have served since 2003, we run approximately 240 calls a year, maybe a little bit more, which averages between 10 and 20 calls a month. So one of the most exciting things, and I know one of our council members is here, Mr. Pacheco, and was on September 16th, I presented to council after 9 months of study and research with a company called Citygate. We were approved to move forward on a second fire station, and that's exciting for the city. We've had studies that go back all the way to early 2000s that indicate our city with the call volume and the density and the growth. Even back in 2003, probably needed 3 firehouses. So we're excited with the growth to the north, that our study focused on the entire city of Seaside and making sure that we're taking care of our mutual aid partners and surrounding jurisdictions. That the location that was specifically selected was at Giggling and First. It's interesting, if you go out there and take a drive, it's about 25 acres of land. So I'm beginning work on that with finding an architect to start some preliminary design of a fire station, and also to see what it will cost to actually build that firehouse. And the next part would be to staff that fire station. So the fire department's excited. Our council was gracious in moving this huge project forward. When we build a fire station, we're thinking about a 50-year structure, if not longer. This current station was built in the early 1970s. So we need a facility that's for today and for the future. And I pulled that picture off the internet because I thought that's a nice looking station. And I have some background coming from Gilroy and designing, spent 3 or 4 years designing their 4th fire station. So I have some background in that and I enjoy the process. So your fire department, pop myself in that picture. Again, I'm proud to serve this organization, proud the city manager and council approved my appointment. I would say that on average, most firefighters can work through the ranks and become a fire chief in 20 to 22 years. I don't mind that it took me over 30 years because this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm proud to serve this diverse community. Every day you'll have an engine and a truck. You know, you'll have 2 pieces of apparatus responding out of this single fire station on Broadway. You'll have 6 firefighters working every day. I work every day. I have 1 admin assistant. I will be getting a part-time fire marshal, something we're desperately in need of to take care of our current development and our permitting and inspections. And plus, as we move towards the main gate and the campus and all development, we absolutely need to have a specified fire marshal to take care of all the code enforcement and to make sure this community is safe. And I just hired 7 additional reserve firefighters, which will help to support this organization. Very highly motivated, very diverse work group. So one of my goals was to ensure that we had a wide distribution of information out there. So I have a very diversified pool of reserve firefighters, to include 2 female reserve firefighters. So I'm proud of that. Some of the programs, and I'll talk really briefly. We're an all hazard response, and Steve did such a great job of not only introducing me, I appreciate that, but explaining that we're all hazard, and our mission changes constantly. Some people call it mission creep, and will say, well, we're creeping into the different mission. As far as I'm concerned, the fire service has evolved over the years. There was a time where firefighters did not respond to medical calls. There was a time we weren't paramedics, and now we're advanced life support in many jurisdictions. We respond to, we have a drone program you see there. We have, and I'm proud to say, we have a type 2 hazmat apparatus. And if you haven't been here and seen that, it's a different color apparatus. It's green. So the city of Seaside has one of 11 state-sponsored hazardous materials apparatus in teams. And Seaside was selected to host that apparatus. And they pay, we have a grant for over $200,000 to supply the training and the equipment. And I'm proud that we respond throughout Monterey County with Salinas. They help to staff our hazmat. And we respond if the state requests our assistance, we'll be there to help anywhere in the state. So it's a big program for a large organization to take on, to have a type 2 hazmat. When I worked in the city of San Jose for over 20 years, I worked in our airport station and we had a fully staffed hazmat team. In a city like that, it was difficult to staff with 700 firefighters. We have 21, and these firefighters are willing to do all the extra specialized training to staff that apparatus. Our firefighters are trained to vaccinate. That was a big push for Monterey County. Our county needed all hands on deck, typically EMTs, which is what our firefighters are. They're not paramedics. Their scope of practice does not include giving injections, doesn't include giving, epinephrine, doesn't include giving life-saving drugs or intubating somebody if they're going to cardiac arrest. So the county asked fire departments, we need your help. So we stepped up immediately back in January. We did the training. We applied through the state and the county. And our firefighters have been giving vaccinations to hundreds. Most of the people vaccinated in our community were vaccinated by Seaside firefighters and by Monterey firefighters who helped us. And then public health department and the visiting nurses have also helped us to get close to now 77% of our population vaccinated against the coronavirus. We have a type 3 wildland engine. What does that mean? It means that not only do we fight wildland fires locally, we deploy throughout the county. And this past summer, they were at the Dixie Fire for 14 days. They were at the Tamarack Fire. So we're proud to help our neighboring agencies because when we need help, they come and help us. So part of our mission is to ensure we help our partners throughout the state. Fire prevention, absolutely critical to our mission here, ensuring our occupancies are safe. And we do close to 700 fire prevention inspections every year from our gas stations, our schools, our daycares, our nursing homes, apartment complexes. So there's no downtime in the fire station. They're not running calls. We're out doing inspections and we're doing public education and training. So just a little quick update on the vaccine, which has become one of my missions. Probably on the second day that I was hired, I got a phone call and it said, you're going to be in charge of the vaccine. And I said, okay, all right. Haven't done that before, but there's not much that I can't figure out. And with a great team of people in the city, the support of the council, our mayor, we put together a vaccine action team comprised of community members and our leaders and our church leadership. So we've been working as a team and right now in the city of Seaside, and I didn't know this, but 93955 actually covers parts of Marina, Delray Oaks, small portions of Monterey City and Sand City. So most of the residents actually reside in Seaside. We have the largest population on the peninsula, but we're at 77% vaccinated right now. And that's a great number. We're tracking about 0.5 to 1% per week increase in vaccinations. In Monterey County, they're close to 300,000. We are, and they're 83%. With that, I want to make sure I send these flyers to Jess or to Steve or to your Rotary board that we've been hosting. I've been making sure we've had vaccine in our community since the very beginning. The times we haven't had vaccine available specifically in our community, I lay awake at night, very, very stressed out because it's been our focus in the city to make sure that this vaccine is available to anybody that wants it, to remove hesitancy and ensure that they don't have to drive to different cities, especially if you're working. Maybe you need a 10-minute lunch break at work or between picking up your children at school. So I'll make sure I send these flyers, but we have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson available every Tuesday through the 16th. And they're doing boosters and flu shots at Oldemeyer. So this is good information if you want to get your flu shot, eligibility for boosters. And if at the end you want to know what the eligibility is, we can talk about that. And then we received a $250,000 grant from HUD to support vaccine in our community. So the Visiting Nurses Association has been working with the city and the fire department, and we've been hosting clinics since early May. So VNA will be coming back to Oldemeyer to ensure Moderna is available, not only the first vaccine, but to have boosters for Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccine and boosters. So in our community, we have all 3 vaccines available, boosters available, flu shots, and VNA also does free COVID testing. So all that's at the Oldemeyer Center. So that's a quick synopsis, and I'm here and available, not just today, but in the future, if you ever have questions. And again, I appreciate your work, your effort, and your mission and everything that you do as a Rotary group.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Chief Gutierrez, thank you so much. Looks like we do have, first, I just want to congratulate you and give you kudos for all the hard work that you and your team have been doing. Certainly with everything going on over the past year and a half with the pandemic and the vast need to get the vaccine out there to help the health of our overall community. Really applaud all the work that you're doing there. We do have some questions in the chat box window here. First one that was written, will the current station get remodeled? What is the status of the paint?
Very good question. I have an answer. I just gave a briefing to one of our shifts today. We have an A, B, and C shift. So the exterior, the paint project, and we are buying new apparatus doors because we've had too many failures of our doors going up for emergency response. That's not a good thing. So our council again not only approved the paint, but new apparatus doors. So those just went out to bid yesterday. So it took 3 months to put together the contract so we can get both projects lumped together. So it's out to bid. I think it closes in 3 or 4 weeks. We anticipate the work on the exterior for the paint, which will include power washing, taking all that paint. We want it down to the concrete and repainted. It's going to take about 8 to 10 weeks to do that project. And then the doors will come with it. So they're going to subcontract out to put new apparatus doors that go up every single time to ensure that we arrive on time. So I think after the first of the year, we'll see a freshly painted station. And I had my hand in a little bit. I said, the one thing I want is some red on the fire station. So you'll see red trim because I think it really displays the fire station. The one thing that probably will go away, and I've worked with the Art Commission, is the mural that's on Street Side on Broadway because it's very dilapidated. We want to keep, everything painted at the same time, but they're going to document it historically, and we'll work with the Art Commission to put a new mural there or paint something very similar.
All right, very exciting news. And also I want to give kudos to our own city council for approving this funding and for helping Chief Gutierrez for helping you do the work that you do. So kudos. That next question I have here in the chat box window, actually is from myself. Once built, how many new positions do you foresee opening up for the new location?
So minimum staffing. So we have a fire engine. We need at least 3 on an engine. So ideally, between 9 and 12 positions is what we would need to fully staff at least one piece of equipment, one fire engine operating out of that station. So that'll be another discussion, another council presentation in the near future. Talking about how to fund it. We're talking about bonds. We're talking about things that I don't know a lot about, the community district bonds. So that's another discussion we're going to have is funding 9 to 12 positions.
Gotcha. Well, definitely no easy feat there, but I trust that that you and the city council will be able to find a good path moving forward there. Next question I have here, what was it like serving on the fire department for Lawrence Livermore Labs? They are famous for physics, and I can only imagine there were or are some dangerous experiments that may have caught fire.
Um, it was an incredible experience. I always give credit to, his name was John Sherry, who hired, I was the first woman ever hired in East Bay, in the Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, Danville. Back then in the 80s, women weren't hired. So he had the foresight to say, you know, women could do this job. And I was ready to go. I had already been through an academy. I was, you know, a bodybuilder in my former life, a martial arts teacher, track and field, CrossFit instructor, you name it. I did it, and I always knew that I could do it. So, but working there, it was highly secure. We had to actually spend 2 years there before they go from it was called a green badge to a red badge. And you had to go through cane booths to get into buildings. So I would say that we never had a lot of fires. We had incredible fire protection systems out there that would always extinguish the fires, but it was always a little nerve wracking because they moved away from radiation and nuclear testing and all that. But it was a great start to my career, but I also knew that I wanted to work in a city. So I started testing again, went to paramedic school. And that was my ticket to move on to the city of San Jose, to become a paramedic and have some experience under my belt. But exciting career out there.
Oh, for sure. And it sounds like you definitely had the experience necessary to move through that. I didn't realize you had all that experience as a martial artist. And you mentioned track and field as well.
Yeah, through high school and college, I was a hurdler. I trained, believe it or not, back in the 80s, since that's when I went to college. We had Olympic athletes who are our coaches. For the 1986 Olympics, they trained in Santa Barbara. So they were our coaches.
Wow.
And super cool. So, and the little part of it is my mentor who got me into the fire service and motivated. She was an Olympic hurdler, and she was a volunteer firefighter and a bodybuilder. So I said, I'm going to be her. And so, you know, we all look for mentors throughout our life. And that's what I hope that I am to, you know, young women and men out there, to inspire and to motivate and to show, you know, that you can do this.
Well, you're already inspiring this club with all the work that you're doing there. And hey, I think it's fantastic. Next question we have here in the chat box window. What are our greatest threats when it comes to natural disasters? I had this one in mind myself. How are we preparing our residents? Do we have a CERT program? Are we prepared to dispatch them when a disaster hits?
So currently, specifically the city of Seaside does not have their own CERT program, which is a citizen emergency response team. That's not unusual for small cities to not have the personnel to manage a civilian emergency response team. But we are in communications with the county to work with all the cities within the county to have a localized emergency response team. So that's something that we're working on as a county. Just like we have a countywide drone program and a countywide hazmat program. It's too much money and resources and time to have a specific one for a specific city. So in regards to threats, we do have an emergency response center at CHUMB that our city responds to in likelihood of an emergency, whether it's a large fire, a flood, a tsunami. We have tsunami warnings. So I think our biggest threats are during the summer, obviously, vegetation fires. There's always potential, you know, we have single family dwellings. Most of our city is, you know, a residential working community. There's not a lot of high rises outside the hotels. So some of our threats are minimized by the type of residencies and occupancies that we have here.
Yeah, and the reason I said I had that in mind was just because of the recent rains. I know, obviously, it's something that we have not been used to for the past. It seems like we've had a summer for the past 10, 12 months or so. And I know that when the rain suddenly comes out of nowhere, that can cause some, well, accidents and cause some down power lines, that sort of thing. So I was particularly curious about that. Next question I have here, speaking to your personal experience, can you speak to your role in the fire service as a woman? I'm not sure how many fire chiefs are out, sorry, how many female fire chiefs are out there. There is a female chief in Salinas. Have more women enter the fire service? How has your experience been?
Well, I will say that women are still, they were about 1% of the fire service in the United States and even nationwide. We probably sit closer to 3% now. So there has been some growth and it kind of ebbs and flows. When I entered the fire service, like I said, I was the first woman in the East Bay, but there was also a first in the South Bay and there was a first here. So the numbers are still significantly low. And I've worked my entire career to try to remove barriers, try to encourage young women to do the things that they need to do to be successful. I do let them know, women know, just like guys, like not everybody can be a firefighter. If I wanted to be a physician, I don't have what it takes. And I wasn't, wired that way. So I let them know that you not only have to have the physical strength and you have to start at a young age. And that's why getting in athletics at a very, very young age, it just, allowed me to be that strong confidence. If you don't have confidence, even if you're strong, you're not going to be successful in the fire service. So it takes an incredible amount of confidence, mental strength, the types of things that we're exposed to on a regular basis. Doesn't matter if you're, what your gender is. It takes an emotional strain on you, the amount of trauma that you see on a regular basis, the types of calls, whether it's a pediatric full arrest, the traumatic vehicle accidents we go to. And in the fire service, we call it our backpack of our life and of our calls. And when your backpack on your back gets too heavy and it starts to spill out, that's when you find yourself with addictive problems, divorce, relationships, even in the firehouse or in the police station, they start to disintegrate. So I still work to this day. As I said, I just, hired 2 additional 7 reserves, and there's many qualified women. I ensured that, 2 of the qualified women are moving forward, and I'm going to continue to mentor all of them and then focus and let the gals know what you need to do to not only get in the fire service, but stay, because hiring is one thing and the retention is another challenge. Because women typically, have families and they raise children. So then there becomes the conflict at home of who's going to take care of the children, because we work now 48 hours straight. So who takes care of the children if you're gone for 48 hours? So I work to try to educate and provide services and resources to everyone. But I want to continue to see more representation of women in the fire service. I'm proud of Michelle from Salinas, having worked up her way up through the ranks and having the respect of her peers there. And I just told myself personally that I wasn't done and I wasn't going to give up, because there's not very many fire chiefs. And I want to provide that leadership and be that role model for everybody out there, because I have my unique style and my, qualities and assets that I can provide that could be different than anybody else.
Oh, we're definitely very thankful to have that unique style representing our community here in Seaside, and I really appreciate it. It's a very inspirational message, and I think it's a great message for all youth to be able to hear. You're absolutely right. Having that confidence is key, and I hope that more and more young people, more and more people, not just interested in serving the fire service, but interested in other fields and looking into other careers, that they apply that same message to their path. So thank you for that. It's 12:40 right now, so we have time for some more questions here. Now, the next question is regarding the vaccination mandate. It's a bit of a long question, but I'm going to read it out here. When the city staff vaccination mandate was passed, there were objections from a number of your staff on public record. Can you speak to that? Do you think that affects hesitancy when the department of our COVID lead are coming out against vaccination with that context, because their objection was more nuanced? How are we as a city helping to educate on vaccine hesitancy in our communities that are more susceptible to misinformation?
So regarding city staff vaccination, the mandate, first off, the mandate is a policy decision that was established by our our policy leaders, our city council. As a lead in the city and a representative of the city, I absolutely believe in the vaccine and the science behind it being effective. Had it not been effective, we would still see high hospitalization rates and high amounts of deaths. I do respect everybody's personal choices, so I want to be clear on that. And regarding, I don't know if it's fire department staff that's being asked, but I'm not aware of any fire department staff being on record. I was at that council meeting who displayed any, objections publicly, so I'm not aware of that. And as we move forward, our policy for the city, we're still working on a final policy for the city. So it was approved by council, it was a policy decision. So within the city, our HR, Human Resources Department and Risk Management Department, they're working on the overall policy. There still needs to be meet and confer with our unions throughout the city, not just fire and police, but all of our unions. So once there's meet and confer, then we'll be able to roll out all the details of what the policy looks like, what the timelines look like for first vaccination, second vaccination. What are your choices if you don't get vaccinated? So it's not a choice of vaccine or COVID testing, it's vaccination. We want all our city employees to be vaccinated. We serve the public, we're out in the public, we have regular contact with the public. So the hesitancy portion, that's why we put together the vaccine action team. And I saw one of our members on here. Can't see all the people right now. We work diligently, through media, through the signs you see throughout the city, promoting the vaccine. We've done surveys to the community. We do ongoing surveys. We're working with CSUMB, Dr. Littleton. She's a professor at CSUMB. So right now she's working with city staff in Monterey County. She got a grant and she's working on the hesitancy within the African-American community. If you go to the Monterey County Public Health website, you'll see that our African-American community is probably one of the lowest vaccinated populations. So Pastor Murray is on our vaccine action team. We work closely with him. We work closely with all of our Baptist churches. We've probably had a clinic specific at every church in our community to make sure we're in the community. Our residents are with their trusted leaders. They're with the people that they believe in. And they're our community influencers. As the fire chief, I represent, I've done 32 years in the fire service. I've been through pandemics, been through SARS, I've been through Ebola. Ebola was one of the scariest things the fire service ever went through. And to the point where we pretty much were wrapping ourselves in plastic because we were so afraid. So we've been preparing for something like this for a long time. So I truly believe in it because of the science and because you already see the difference out there. When you look at the numbers of the lower cases of hospitalizations and deaths. And when you have somebody in your family or a friend that dies from COVID, it's unfortunate that's when it strikes home, is when you actually know somebody and you see them suffer. So we're working hard with our vaccine action team. Our mayor, Oglesby, he was a driving force behind it with Alexis Garcia Arzola. Again, we've had community forums with physicians at City Hall. They're posted on our website. And our physicians are advocating for the vaccine. And they're there, if you watch the YouTube, dispelling all the myths. So one of our doctors, Dr. Nicole Sims, she's the daughter of Pastor Britt. She's wonderful. If you go to our YouTube and watch her, she dispels all the myths in a beautiful way. She'll ask the question and then answer it. So I just encourage our community to watch those videos, to ask somebody that, ask me, because I like I said, I base my decisions on science. And I couldn't blindly lead if I didn't believe in it. I said that earlier. So I'm not blindly leading here. I've been doing this for a long time and I've never seen such devastation in communities and I've never seen so many deaths. So I encourage everybody to get vaccinated, but I also respect people's private decisions. That's a long answer.
Hey, no worries. And it's definitely a sensitive, I know it's a sensitive and a very complicated subject. I know there's a lot of, unfortunately, misinformation out there. I certainly support all the work that you're doing with this, and really respect and find inspiring the fact that you are taking a stand on this and doing everything you can within your capacity, within the capacity of the city of Seaside, the fire department, to be able to help as many people as possible. And certainly, my wife and I were talking about this the other day. Um, this pandemic, this is something that I don't think any one of us had any idea was, knew how to deal with. And I think looking back, we might be able to, 20, 30 years from now, we might be able to look back and see, oh, well, we could have done things differently. Maybe we didn't need to do this, but the fact is, these are the best solutions we have right now. And I think it's important that we get the word out and like you said, try to stop that flow of misinformation. So thank you for that. I know, like I said, very, very complicated subject there. Looks like we have time for one last question. Is there a role for volunteer firefighters anymore? Do volunteer firefighting agencies still exist?
So the city of Seaside, there are volunteer agencies. Most agencies have gone to what they call a reserve firefighter, because reserve firefighters are trained to a higher level, and they're able to respond and be the fourth person on a crew. So they can add value by maybe not going in the structure fire until they're trained to that level, but they can roll hose, they can do overhaul after a fire, they can help out emergency medical calls. So there are volunteer agencies. So sometimes the word's used interchangeably, volunteer, reserve. It just depends. Sometimes it's kind of a historical thing. When I was in Gilroy, they called their reserves volunteers. So they're used interchangeably. And actually currently ours are called volunteer reserves. So I don't want to complicate it, but it's one or the other. And ours are trained to a really high level. We use the MPC Academy. At some point we have a $139,000 grant. We apply for the grants. It's paying for the 7 reserves to get their turnouts and training, their physicals and their background. So this grant has allowed us to hire that 7 additional reserves. So we'll have, off and on, we have about 12 reserves helping us out. And you'll see it at all the community events. At our open house, the 7 reserves are here along with our current reserves.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, that's a really, really glad to hear there. And we are close to 12:50. So I think we can go ahead and wrap up the Q&A session there. And Chief Gutierrez, once again, I know, I sound like a broken record, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much, not just for your presentation today, but for all the hard work you've been doing to help our community to promote the good health, to promote to really fight this pandemic, this coronavirus that's happening. Really, Seaside is very thankful to have you on our side. So thank you once again.
And thank you, Jess, Steve, the whole Rotary group who have been writing to me and been just incredibly wonderful. I get a very warm feeling from the group. So I appreciate you not giving up on me, because I've had to cancel a few times. And the day I was available, the whole internet broke down. So thank you again. I'm honored.
Wonderful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording function here.